Hello and welcome back to the When You're podcast, the podcast for when you're doing anything. Today we're talking about when you're looking at a super blue moon. Now, listen, who cares about a super blue moon? I know what you're thinking. Exactly, like who cares? What does it matter? It's not a big deal, whatever. It's just the moon. It's not this crazy huge thing. I know, but I'm not going to say I don't care about the moon, you know what I mean? I think it looks pretty. I think it's awesome. I think that the fact that we have like a little orb in the sky that lights up from the sun, like that reflects the light from the sun onto you, and that like it changes, how much light gets reflected off of it. I think it's just a cool little nice little detail, in the nighttime. So they were hyping up the super blue moon, and for the life of me, it just I mean, look, the moon is great. I really love the moon. It's awesome, but there's something about the moon in the morning. I remember so vividly. I was like in third or fourth grade, and I was getting driven to school, and early in the morning, to get dropped off. And as you're staring at the window, you look up at the sky and you see the moon, and you're kind of like, and you're mesmerized by it, and you're like, why is it following me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just one of those memories I have of the moon. And there's just something about seeing it in the morning. It's kind of like like a I Spy or a Where's Waldo. It's just kind of like you see it and you're like, oh snap, there it is. And it just looks, there's something so beautiful about it. Something so cool and so different about seeing it in the morning light as opposed to shining at night. You know what I mean? So I've always liked the moon. I love the moon. The moon is cool. It's just kind of like, I guess they kind of like what's the right word? The phases of the moon. Learning the phases of the moon. I remember we were learning about that in school, and they were like waning and waxing, and like I used to know it by heart which one it was. And even now, if you told me like which one's the waxing, which one's the waning, I would be like, I know it, but I don't know it at the same time. But anyways, the moon has always looked cool to me, and there's something about seeing it early in the morning that just like is it's just completely different. It just gives you a new perspective on things. It's just kind of like when you look at it and you see it at nighttime, you're like, oh, obviously it's the glowing circle in the sky. But at night, it's more of like, oh, it's just a rock. You know what I mean? I don't know. Does that make sense? It's kind of like seeing maybe like a meteor up close. Is what I'm trying to say. Is like, oh snap! It's not like this flashlight in the sky, like this huge beaming light bulb or whatever. It's like it's just a rock, but it happens to be lit up, which I don't know. Am I making any sense? Anyways, it doesn't matter. So looking at the moon is one thing with your eyes, with your phone maybe, but it's another thing when you get like a telescope. And I have a telescope. I'm not gonna say it's not a perfect telescope, but it gets the job done. You know what I mean? It helps you to look at it. It just kind of feels like you don't get the real true experience unless you work at NASA and you have like the millions upon millions of dollars of telescopes to look through and kind of look at and really get like good images of and pictures of it and try to like see every little single detail on there, and satellite images. You know what I mean? I feel like if you're doing that, then of course you're gonna have a great experience looking at the moon. But when you have like when you have a telescope that you got in like 12, 15 years ago, it just kind of, the experience, it's there, but it's not there. But it did do its job. It definitely worked. It definitely gave us a clear image of it. It was just very difficult to like get any pictures of it or not that the pictures really matter, right? Because like I saw it, I kind of understand it, you know what I mean? And as long as nothing changes to the moon in these next couple of years, you know, until the next one, because the next super blue moon isn't going to be in like 27 or it's either 27 or 37 years. I don't remember. Or I think it was 2037. So it's like only like 14 years, I guess, something like that. But that's not the point. The telescope is what really sells this experience. So if you have the telescope, and they have those telescopes where you could hook it up to your phone, and then your phone can take pictures of from the telescope of the moon. So those are the kind of things that you look for. But those telescopes are super expensive. I mean, I'm not saying like they're like millions of dollars, like the big those big hubs where they like they have a NASA, but they are like, you know, they're in the thousands of dollars and thousands of dollars that I don't have to spend on the telescope and that I can clearly just see with my eyes. So it's kind of like, you know, do I stick with the same old telescope that I have? I mean, it you know, hasn't cost me anything and I'm getting it, you know, good use out of it, or do I spend the extra cash on something that I don't even use on the daily? You know what I mean? It'd be one thing if you lived in like maybe Alaska. You could maybe see the northern lights every night, or you know, star constellations, or you know, whatever you want to do. If you're into that stuff, right? If you have like if you're really into astronomy, then yeah, I say it's probably worth it to get, you know, to do that. But if you're not really that interested in it, or if it's kind of like once every now and then kind of a thing, like I do it. When something like, when they hype up something like the super blue moon, you're just like, you know what, let's just take a look at it for fun, you know, nothing too crazy. Then I'm kind of like, all right, let's do it. As opposed to like somebody who constantly looks at the stars, somebody who constantly tries to get images, somebody who on a regular basis over and over and over again is out there at night trying to get the best, you know, tent, you know, camping just to get the certain images or the best looks of it. So I don't know, but I feel like even astronomy majors or people who are like really into the stars, or, you know, looking at learning about the constellations or about planets and whatnot, like I feel like they don't even really, I mean, to like go outside and to camp, or, you know, try to get images or look at the star constellations is cool, but I think they just do it digitally. They like just show it to you. You know what I mean? There's not much need for that kind of stuff, I guess, unless there is, and I don't know about it. But perhaps that's what they teach you in astronomy. You know, they teach you how the stars align, and that makes you money somehow. I don't know. You know, like, isn't that weird? Isn't that weird that astronomy is a real major? Like, no offense to any astronomy majors or people. You know, I'm with you. You know, I think it's cool, but it's just kind of funny. Like, okay, you have to, you know, your assignment is due at, you know, 11:59 p.m. and you have to like just look up at the stars, and then you have to like submit. Like, I don't get it, dude. Take a picture of the night sky of the moon, and then you have to send that in. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems kind of funny to me. It's kind of just a little different. It's weird, but a funny weird, if that makes sense. But it wasn't just the moon that I saw. I got to see a little tiny speck of Saturn. That's right, Saturn. I you know, every now and then, one of the stars in the sky, like close to the moon or whatever, it'll be a planet. And it was there. We looked at it, and it was Saturn. It's just like, it's so crazy that it's so far away, but on the telescope, we like really saw it. Now, mind you, it was the size of like a breadcrumb. It was so tiny, so small. But with that tiny little breadcrumb, you could see the rings. So you could see some detail to it. You kind of couldn't. It was just like, it's not like they have it in the books, you know what I mean? Where they show you like the detailed images and the rings are so beautiful and they're nice, right? It's more of like when you look at it, it's just kind of like a little speck. And because of that, because it's just such a tiny little thing, you can see some of it, but not the whole beautiful definition of it. So we kind of got an idea of what it looked like, but it wasn't like anything too crazy. But it was definitely nice. I think before this, like last time we looked up at the stars, or like there was like another thing with the moon. I think we did, I think it was Venus. I think we saw Venus last time. And that was cool. And it was cool because, you know, I assume that because it's the second planet in our solar system, we should be able to see that thing all the time. We should be able to see Mars and Venus and Mercury. Like, we should see these planets all the time. Jupiter, on the other hand, hey, that's the biggest planet. You would think, like, that we would be able to see it. But it's just not the case. And then I see those, those images of people like, okay, so this is what we would see if let's say, let's say Jupiter was as close to us as the moon. And then they would do like, this is what it would look like. And I look at it and I'm like, dang, that is crazy. We would probably, I don't know what the long-term effects of that are, but crazy stuff. Or if Jupiter and Mars switched places, and it would still be that close. It's just really wild. And it just kind of sucks that we can't like just take a little spaceship ride over to Jupiter and take a look at it. You know what I mean? But that's life. You know, we can't do everything that we want to do. We can't do that. But it's cool to think about that there's another planet out there that's even bigger than what we have now. Like me in my room right now. And then think about the whole city I live in. And then the whole state that I live in. And then the whole country. And then the whole, northern hemisphere. And then you think about the whole planet. And then you think there's one like 5 times bigger than this one. And you're just like, what is literally going on? It's crazy. That's what fascinates me about, space and stuff. It's just like they're so endless. But whatever. Outside of that, learning about the stars and the constellation, I think learning about it was very necessary and very important in the olden days when you have to like map it out. Because then you can like figure out direction before we had like compasses and GPS and stuff. And when that just doesn't happen, it's more of like every single time we're out there and we look at the stars, we kind of get an idea of what's going on in the world. Like if we look at the constellations up there, I remember this one time we looked up and the stars were... I don't know if it was the stars or the planets, but they looked like they were lining up. Like they looked like they were straight. You know what I mean? They were just like one after another, planet or star after star after star. And you kind of look at that and you think something big must be going down for all of those to line up perfectly like that. All of that must really take place. So something has to be going on, because every time in like movies and stuff, whenever they say like the planets will perfectly align. I think this was in Hercules. Spoilers for Hercules if you haven't watched it. And I'm talking about the animated one. Not that I think there's a Hercules TV show. Anyways, I digress. They're essentially saying that like something big happens when the planets align perfectly. And I feel the same way with maybe like star constellations or the way that, they kind of shape things out. I guess it's just kind of like I don't know, it's just kind of like a look up to the sky and it just tells you like something big is going to happen today or tomorrow, or this is a good sign of faith or whatever. Just kind of seeking some sort of explanation for the world we live in through the stars. And I don't know if like that really matters, but it definitely looks pretty. It definitely looks nice. So you can't really hate the stars. And it's just so funny how it looks so shiny and pretty and like a little LED light in the sky. But then if we were to actually go to those stars, we would be on fire. We would burn and we would die. We would be pulled in by those multiple stars because it's so crazy how there's so many out there, but we can't see them in their full glory. So, anyways, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the moon. So, the super blue moon, we kind of like look at it, and the thing about the moon that I really like is that there's like a bunch of craters on there. There's like a bunch of like little cracks and messed up stuff. And when I look at that, I think, wow, it's so crazy how this rock has been through so much. It really has been through a lot, right? And in a way that the Earth hasn't. Even though the Earth has like had dinosaurs on it and a bunch of stuff has taken place there, the moon is like been completely alone for what I know. What if the Earth was like a mini planet? But I don't think it was. But I'm just saying, right? Like it's been through a lot. It's been alone for so long. And when I look at the craters, I think to myself, that's a small crater. But in actuality, that crater is like the size of Iowa. That crater is like gigantic. So I always think like if we lived in like on the moon in like one of those craters, how would we adapt? Would we completely like would we build our life around the crater, or would we change the crater completely to like to fit our wants and needs essentially? So maybe we would dig up some dirt and then we would put it over the crater to make it flat, or maybe we would just. But I guess if we had to dig up stuff, then we're just making another hole. So I think we would just live in the crater as is, and then like everybody kind of gets their own crater. I don't know. It's too weird. But other than that, the super blue moon, not blue at all. I don't know what they're talking about. It's not blue. It was very orange, very yellow orangish. It did look like an orange. I will say that, but it was nice. Very, very cool. A very nice color, a different color, something that we're not particularly used to. But because of that, I think, and by the way, I'm joking. I know the super blue moon means that like it's a full moon, like twice repeated or like done in the same like the next day or whatever. I know that they don't actually mean that the moon is blue. Okay, so I just want to make that clear. I was joking, and that I know it's not supposed to turn blue. All right, just want to say, to clarify, I know that. So the super blue moon. I mean, what else can I really say? It was bright. It was shiny. It was really close. Like pretty early on. After a while, it just once it goes as the night goes on, it just becomes like just a regular moon. It is not anything too crazy. But it was nice. And it's like one of those moments where they tell you, hey, go outside and just, look at the stars every now and then. That's just kind of what it makes me feel. It's just like, oh, this is just an excuse to go out and look at the stars. Or maybe it's just NASA trying to see who actually listens to us. Right? Like, I think NASA is just kind of being like, okay, so if we tell people to go outside and look at the moon, how many people can we realistically get to do that? And now they get some people, but they wouldn't get everybody. Some people would care, some people wouldn't. I mean, I went to go see it, but like, do I really care? No. If NASA told me to go out there and like count all of the stars in the sky, I wouldn't do that. I'd be like, that's not happening. But if they told me like, there's a meteor shower gonna happen outside at exactly 8:19 p.m., then I'd be like, all right, I'm going out there. I'm gonna go see it. I just feel like if there's like an event or something cool's gonna happen, as opposed to them just kind of being like, yeah, something might happen, and there's some cool stuff in the sky if you ever want to look at it, even though we're gonna take pictures of it anyways and then release it on social media. So it's kind of like, is it really all that worth it? But who knows? But aside from that, why doesn't the moon turn blue? Like you ever think about this? What if we somehow created like a filter on the moon to turn it blue? And I mean in real life, not like on like your phone or whatever, that editing software. I'm talking about like something to put on the moon to make it look blue. Like multicolor change. Like a light bulb. LED lights. We can have it change colors on the lights, right? Like I'm sure the technology's there, and we could definitely like send like a solo robot rocket up there to like do the job for us. It might take a couple of months or weeks or whatever, however long it takes, but I'm sure we could do it. I'm sure there has to be a way to like get that done. And with all of the trips we took to the moon, none of it was really. What did we really do up there, right? Like we found it, we claimed it for America or whatever, but we didn't really do anything. You know what I mean? We didn't really make it something crazy. So I think the next time we go to the moon, like the next like NASA team to go up to the moon, they should put like they should have some form of technology up there, so that way when the sun's light reflects off of it, we can change its colors from Earth. That would be something. Of course, I think the signal would have to be super strong, but I think that's possible. I definitely think that's possible. If we can send messages to a rover in Mars, I think we can send messages to a little piece of technology on the moon that helps it change colors. You know what I mean? Like that's definitely possible. That's got to be possible out there, right? Like I'm not the only one who doesn't believe this. I mean, just imagine you look up at the sky. Imagine you look up into the night, right? And you see the moon, and it's beautifully white, right? It's just a nice, shining, full moon, okay? And then all of a sudden, it turns, let's say pink. It turns pink. And you're just like, oh my goodness, like, isn't that crazy? It makes you want to go see Barbie. Right? Like that would have been crazy promo if they did that for the Barbie. If they made the moon pink. They could make the moon red for Halloween. Ooh, red moon for Halloween. I mean, it would have to really depend on what phase the moon is in, but if that night it's a full moon, dude. I mean, if it's any phase of the moon, even if it's a waxing crescent, it would look cool. But I'm just saying, right? Like I'm spitballing here. I'm the idea guy. I'm just throwing it out there. Red moon on Halloween. I think that'd be the best idea ever. But it's not, the only color change we get is, it's either white, no moon, or orange reddish color thing, which is cool. Is that why the Blue Moon beer is like, that's why they call it Blue Moon? because it's the beer itself is like orange in color. Is that why they do it? Because if they did, that's genius. That's genius, and they know it. And I'm sorry I ever doubted them. But if it's just called Blue Moon beer, because they were like, it sounds cool. I mean, that's also not a bad idea. But like, I think that's brilliant. I think that's brilliant if they did that. If they made Blue Moon beer because it's orange and it looks like the blue moon when it comes out every now and again. You know what I mean? I think that's brilliant. So, I don't know, dude. I just feel like there's so much out there in space and on the like what I just said about the moon, right? Like, how have we not thought about this? How have we not put it to the test yet? Is there like some sort of moon rules we don't know about that we should be like taking, caution of? Because, like, if you think about it, okay, what's the worst case scenario? If we put this filter or if we put some lights on the moon, right? What's the big problem? Would it shift it away from Earth? Would it pull it closer to Earth and like destroy, like kill us? Is that like the big fear? Or is it more like the technology doesn't exist for like that scale of a thing, so it wouldn't really, what I'm trying to say here just like doesn't work. Or even if we did have something that could do it, we just wouldn't have anything to like solidly display it perfectly or like as bright as we would want it to. I don't know. There's got to be some explanation for this. I really don't know what else there could be. I guess also the journey and like the setting up and the software and the connection and but it's like it's not that crazy. It's not that big of a deal. I don't know, dude. I feel like the most important thing we could do to like really a brilliant display of technology of light, of space, of NASA would be to put lights on the moon and then have it change colors. I don't think that's a crazy ask. But hey, what do I know? I'm not an astronaut. I'm not in NASA. What I'm proposing to do is not possible, I guess, for some reason. So, for now, we're going to have to live with orange, not blue. And orange and not blue, I mean, who cares, right? It's just I'm thinking out loud here, right? It's just, I like the moon as it is. The moon as it is right now has definitely been good to me. It hasn't done anything wrong. I just think that if we could do something a little different, do something a little fun. What else is there? Space. I'm trying to think of something. If the moon wasn't there, what would life be like? What would life be like without the moon? I mean, I can't imagine I would be all that, I would care all that much. But then I guess space exploration wouldn't have been I think history would have been a lot different. It wouldn't be like this race for the moon. It would have been like just whatever. But maybe we would have raced to Mars or Venus instead, which wouldn't have been as good. Especially back then. I mean, now we talk about going to the moon and it's like, all right, no big deal. We've already been there before. But back then, like it never been done before. And we still haven't gone to Mars yet. So we gotta think. So anyways, I think when you're looking at the super blue moon, which won't come again until 2037, when it comes around, you gotta get a telescope. Like that's a perfect way of doing it. If you don't really care all that much, hey man, I completely understand you and I get it, and you don't have to care about it. You know what I mean? You got other things to take that take priority. I'm just saying this stuff randomly because they hyped it up and they made it seem like it was going to be this really cool thing, when in actuality it was just like a big bright orange moon, and it was nice. It was nice to look at. It's just like it wasn't super crazy. It wasn't like a big event. It was just kind of like, okay, like it happened and now the moon's back to normal. You know, it's not anything to really lose sleep over. So if that's kind of how you deal with things. But anyways, when you're looking at the super blue moon, get a good telescope, all right? Try to see if you can find other planets, or like there were also some airplanes in the sky. It would have been funny if we looked at some of those. See if you can look at any constellations up there. I don't know where you live or what's going on with you. But overall, when you're looking at the super blue moon, just make it fun, make it cool. Invite some of your friends over. Make it, make it like a hangout kind of a deal. Nothing. It doesn't have to. You can make it special, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that's it for today's episode, guys. A little short one, I know, but I mean, what else can I really realistically say about the moon? It was a conspiracy. They didn't actually go there. It was just fake. I don't know. Right? Like, who knows what really went down? I don't know if they went to the moon or not, right? But they say they went to the moon, and I like to believe them. But, who knows? Who knows for sure? Who knows for certain? But it is what it is. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you so much for subscribing to the YouTube channel and for listening to me on all podcasting platforms, and it means a lot. Thank you. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys all next time.